So I did this video, and it seems to just be like, the space. You know what I'm saying? It's just, everybody's got their
Content.
viewpoint, but everybody disagrees with Big Mark, and that's fine with it. So you did your video yesterday.
Yes, sir.
You did your
So
video yesterday.
is there anything specific you want to dive into, or just overall the
Well,
broad?
let's take a look at your video.
Okay.
At the moment where we're not going to recap the whole video, but I just want to look at the moment and where, obviously I disagree, and then we can go back and forth, and we can
That's cool.
state our viewpoints, and then we can go from there. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's cool.
All right. So right here,
You got to pay for the truck too. So the key thing that you guys want to know, as a conclusion of this video, is it possible? Short answer is yes. Starting a box truck company for $5,000 is possible. It requires careful planning and budgeting. You're going to need either a consultant, a nice insurance agent like myself who can walk you through the process. Because like I said, insurance or the truck is going to end up being your highest cost. The truck is something that, like I said, you go to rental route, you can shop around. Insurance is, you got to have somebody that knows what they're doing to not screw you over. Because at the end of the day, you still need an active authority, and you need the proper coverages to haul freight. But the considerations I got here is this approach involves a low initial cost, but your resources will be limited. You will need working capital for ongoing expenses and unexpected costs. So I didn't put that within the scope of cost. Of course, you're going to have the fuel for the first few weeks, like until you actually start getting paid. If you're wondering how you get paid, it's by having a factoring company.
All right. So I'm gonna stop it right there. I think they get the gist. So you said yes, you can start. Go into details, because I disagree with you. I disagree.
Yeah. So like I sent you that part of my PowerPoint. I did a broad synopsis of all the basic costs, right? I think I left out tags out of that, but even if you round it up to, like, let's say $3,000 for the insurance and the down payment for the truck, those are things that are subjective to the carrier. So some guys might go to rental route, some guys might buy outright. I know guys putting 25, 30, $30,000 down on the insurance to pay in full. I know some guys who finance it. I can get some guys lower down payments for insurance. I know some guys for the rentals, they can get it. Some guys get their first deposit week free. Some guys pay the first week up. Some guys pay a few weeks up. So just depending on their scenario, it's possible, but is it practical? That's another debate. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily practical. You're going to have higher expenses when you're running, but it's possible. It's just not practical. And like I said, I left out the working capital too. I'll go ahead.
So let me ask you this. Is working capital required to start a business?
It is, but I guess it's not like the underlining part of the video that I'm gonna make known, because everybody is quote unquote 6 month, expenses that they need to have set to the side just in case the business, let's say flops, or we know the first 60 to 90 days is hard to get freight. I don't necessarily push too much of that content on my content, so to speak. It's the truth, and I make videos about how it's tough, but I can't say what the finite, like the actual number is that each individual carrier needs to have saved up before starting, because it's subjective.
So this is what I'm saying, because the way obviously, if you watch my channel, I say it's impossible. Why? Because you need working capital to start a business. A business without working capital, you have no business. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, that's a fair point. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you got it. No, you got it.
Yeah, all I was going to say is that when people are watching these videos on how to start, to be completely honest, they don't care about how much they need to specifically have saved up. Do they need to have money saved up? Obviously, you know what I'm saying? But I don't include that in the cost when it comes to overall a hypothetical situation of starting for $5,000. You have videos where guys are starting with $3,000, $3,500. So I just made mine for $5,000, since it's been something that's been, pretty popular in the algorithm. Actually, my first time making a video like this.
But see, that's where I think people get misled, because let's just keep it a buck. a lot of people that come
People,
into this business, they're ignorant. So when they see content like that says 3,500, 4,700, 5K, that's all they consider. You got most of these people that even consider coming into this type of industry with that minimal money. We know a few things they haven't done. One of them is a business plan, because anybody that has any type of business common sense should know, without even kind of really even doing research, how can you come into this type of business with less than 5 grand? And then they come in with that very low amount of money. And this is one of the main reasons, if not the main reason, most people fail, is because they run into some sort of situation. It doesn't have to be an extravagant situation, but you need working capital to sustain. Things are not going to go your way right away. The
for sure.
learning curve within itself is very costly. And this is what a lot of new entrants fail to realize. So when they see this type of content, to me, it's very misleading. Technically, yes, as far as, renting a truck, if you're able to acquire insurance without a huge down payment, which we see that a lot of people are having to put a large amount of
Oh, of
money
course,
down
I deal with it
now,
every day.
nowadays. But for the ones that don't, so some people are able to sneak in technically with a rental truck, the authority,
Perfect credit.
perfect credit, lower insurance rate, with a little bit of money. Does that work practically? No. But here's
No,
the thing: working capital is something that you need. And the reason why I am straightforward and say it's impossible is because, like I said, most people that are coming into this business, especially this business from a box truck space, have no business acumen. Working capital is not something they even think of. They think they're gonna come in right away, start making money, and then that little money. Like, there was a guy, I clipped a video from one of my live streams, a 28-year-old, no money, was waiting on his taxes to go rent 3 trucks. And I'm asking him, well, what about working capital? Well, once we factor the first load, we'll use that money. I'm like, well, what if something happens? He's like, well, what can happen? Nothing can happen. You know how many
it's a fair.
people I've come across that the unthinkable has happened on their way to pick up their first load, or on their way to drop off their first load, or the load shifts in transit and they don't get paid and now they're stuck. There's
Yeah,
so many different scenarios I could talk about.
no, I agree with that. I mean, when picking up my first box truck, the turbo actuator was fucked up. So I know I can attend to that, and I understand that everybody's situation won't be the same. If we had to put it in a percentile, right? I would say maybe 5 percentile could get away with starting off with low business costs like that, with a decent amount of working capital on the side. But like I told you, offline, we didn't talk too much to keep this pretty authentic, but when editing the video, I use certain software applications to make my words sound a little bit better than they are, right? And if you pull up that one picture, you'll kind of see my thought process, and then versus what Gamma AI, the slide deck that I use for my videos, kind of projected, right? But I still put it, you would need working capital for ongoing expenses and unexpected costs. That's not a part of the overall cost to start up. Is it necessary? Of course. Did I include it in my 5K? It wouldn't be possible to. So I guess it's just being a content creator, trying to blur the lines between reality and what people want to see. Just being 100. So
What do you what do you what do you think an individual should have, and what do you think they should consider if they want to come in this industry uh, with a 26-foot box truck?
if you're saying capital wise, besides all the startup costs, I'd say probably minimum 6 month worth of like living expenses. You know what I'm saying? Other than that, all the costs that I went over in the video, honestly.
What about working capital? Because the way I educate people, you need living expenses and working capital to float the business. You need both.
But yeah, oh, go ahead. But working capital is super subjective. So if you buy a truck, you're required to maintenance. So let me ask you this: if you were to lease, rent, finance, or own a truck, aren't they going to have different working capital amounts? Because if I rent a truck, I'm paying extra for the maintenance. Versus if I bought a truck outright, of course, all the maintenance is on me, so they need higher working capital, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whereas for the rental, the guy who's renting, he's going to be putting that quote unquote working a lot of that working capital into the cent per mile. So I don't think everybody has the same working capital limit. Like I couldn't say for a rental you need to have X amount. For a guy who owns his truck, you need to have X amount because anything can happen. But I think it's the guys who go the owning route or financing the truck need to have more than guys who are renting for working capital, even though they're going to be paying more out to the rental company.
So you're right. Everybody's working capital is going to be different depending on how they enter, and then everybody's situation is different. A person who, let's say, still stays at home, I would still hope that they would have working capital, but they could probably have a tighter working capital budget versus someone who doesn't. You see what I'm saying? Because a lot of their living costs are alleviated. So the money that they're making, they can kind of reinvest and they don't have to pay themselves so much. You see what I'm saying? Because their risk tolerance is a little bit higher. I get that point. But what I think a lot of people don't understand, and the reason why I tell people it's impossible, and I use that word impossible purposely, and I know it pisses people off. I've seen the little videos and shit like that, but can't nobody come up and effectively argue why. Because anywhere you look up as far as a business plan and building a business and starting a business, they're going to tell you need working capital, 3 to 6 months. Some places will say 12 months. And then it'll also say you need the same amount of money to sustain your cost of living, because you may start this business and no money may come in. Listen, you see some stuff play out on my channel where people come up and get their testimonies and you hear some of these sad stories. If you think you've heard some sad stories of people coming up on my channel giving a testimony based off content they've seen that was misleading, the ones that don't come up that DM me, those stories are way worse.
I believe you. I've had those, type of stories too. I know Kirk can attest to that. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, if you go through over 100 of my videos, you don't see many videos like this. I've just been trying to be more consistent, and I've been trying to apply more of my content to that demographic of people watching, some of these creators who are making way worse analogies and titles and thumbnails. Whereas I'm not propagating that if you start with $5,000, you're going to be rich tomorrow. You know what I mean? It's just like in a hypothetical situation, you start off with a rental, you got great credit. Here are all the business costs. Here's what's left. Here's your variable. Here's your fixed. Is it possible in a perfect world for some people? Maybe. Right.
Okay. So
that's what the video is kind of going over.
So a person starts, they only got a nickel. All they got is a nickel. They get a rental truck. They got their authority and everything. How does this person make it? That 5%, how do they pull it off? Let me know. I'm just curious. I just want to know, how does that person pull it off?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think we're still not on the same page as far as working capital being something that is necessary, right? And it's in the video. It's just not explicit to the 5K that I mentioned, right? Because like I told you, some guys just want to know how much it costs. They don't they don't care about how much they need to have saved up. So I think that's where you can't really blur the lines with content. Like some guys are going to need more saved up than others for that working capital that you mentioned. But working capital is in the video. So I agree with you with that.
And see, right. So I guess this can kind of, I don't want to jump the gun and go into the next talking point.
I know. Yeah.
But see, this is why I'm straightforward and I say it's impossible, because I don't want people, because a lot of people don't understand technical versus practical.
Okay.
Technically, yes. Practically, no. Most of the people that come up don't even understand cost per mile that are active. So the reason why I say it's impossible is because I want them to come in 100% ready to face whatever challenges may come at them. I don't want to tell them, well, technically you can just get your rental truck, and if you can get some cheap insurance and you get your authority, yeah, but it's not practical. You're not working capital, because we've seen people come up. I've seen people in my comment section say crazy things like, well, we from the struggle, we gonna make it work, and then they don't make it work, and then they have to come back with their tail tucked, and then I have to hold them accountable and say, I told you so. You need money. A business with no money, because they don't understand technical versus practical.
Fair point.
So me as a content creator, and with the blowback, because you've been creating content longer than me, you've seen blowback.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you the harsh reality all the way through. I'm not going to confuse me personally, a person that's on the new that really doesn't have a strong business acumen, and even give them the opportunity to think, okay, well, let me come in with this little and I'm going to try to make it work, because the probability of that happening is minuscule. And I think we both know that. I hear what you're saying. Yep. You put your video out as just I guess a general.
It's a general outline of the content. You know what I'm saying? Not to cut you off. And I know we're gonna get deeper into influencers and stuff, but maybe it's because I don't know my true influence and what I'm actually, propelling people to actually put their money into, rather than going over a hypothetical situation for content. Because I've seen much worse that I would never do, and that's why I usually don't make videos like this. And you hit me up and say, hey, we got to debate this, because this is probably one of the few videos that I watch from you that I truly just don't agree with, and that's why I'm here today. But I just see it as people watching and learning. I would rather, if these are the videos that are gonna bring people in to learn more about what it really starts to take, I don't mind making a video or two like this, to reel in that audience into more authentic content, because it's not easy. But I don't think they're watching. I don't think they're watching our channels though. You know what I'm saying? So if I want to get that demographic, the new entrants who really want to learn how to start, let's say at an affordable rate or the right way, or setting their business up, they watching, they on Instagram and Facebook. Keep it a buck.
It depends on the age demographic.
My age demographic.
Right, you're 26.
Yeah.
Right. So your age demographic is Instagram and TikTok. Would you agree?
Yeah. And I don't even have TikTok downloaded, but I believe you. And I'm on TikTok, but I deleted it. So
okay, let's stay on this. So what's your thoughts on Instagram and TikTok, as far as, because ultimately I agree with you, that's where it's coming from. So what's your thoughts on it?
It's terrible. I think that's the worst place where you can go get information, but it's an abundance of 15 to 30-second reels, whereas they don't sit down for 30 to 45 minutes or you for hours a day to give constructive criticism on how you should start your business. So that's not what I'm trying to influence people to do. I influence people to self-educate. I influence the people at the end of every one of my videos. Make sure you keep researching. Check the comment section. Oh, I love you. I love your content. I want to talk to you. Da, da, da. Hey man, don't stop here. Keep researching. So that's what I'm kind of putting out on my platform.
Okay. I agree. I crack jokes about the 30-second reels all the time, where they pointing up in the air like that.
Yeah. It ain't even their video. And they,
and highly misleading to, new entrants, and then they scroll and they see the low board and they see all these lows, and they just think it's so simple, and this is not a joke. I've joked on it before, and it's tax season. They wait on their taxes, and I'm not trying to be funny. I'm dead serious.
I believe you.
They wait on their taxes, and they take their whole tax check to get in, and then I'll do a call-in show, and a lot of the viral clips from my channel, from those call-in shows that I was releasing in the latter part of the year, came from this time of the year last year, because those were all tax season entrants that were, real optimistic, and I was holding them accountable. A lot of those viral moments, like the 5,400 rental truck guy, I don't know if you saw that one, who had to give Enterprise the 5,400. He's
I
out.
think I saw that. Yeah.
Right. All those people are no longer, they got in and they got wiped out.
Fair point.
You see what I'm saying? Because by the time they got to my channel, it was already almost too late, or so many people were saying stuff the opposite of what I'm saying, to the point where once a person has their mind made up and they're very optimistic because they're watching that stuff on Instagram and TikTok, it almost makes me look like a hater. And I'm like, damn, what reason I got to hate on you? Everything you need, I got it.
That's fair.
You see what I'm saying? So I'm just keeping it funky with you. I'm not even selling you anything. I'm giving you the harsh reality, but there's not many people that's giving the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's just like I say, good is good.
Can I speak on that though?
Good. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so how many people you think are really researching federal interest rates and Jerome Powell and what his decisions do to the economic market? Because you came in basically at high fuel cost, high inflation. They basically took the interest rates from 0 up to record high, like 8 or 9%. So you knew what the economy was turning into. Regular viewers, regular people watching content don't know that, right? You sold your trucks at a record high versus guy buying them at a record high.
Right.
They can't see it without learning the information first. They're just watching YouTube videos, right?
Right. So to answer your question, how many people, as far as like the Jerome Powell question, that are coming into this actual space, I can say less than 1%.
Okay, so you came in with a less than 1% mind. You can talk about creators too.
I came in with a less than 1% mind?
No. You came in with the less than 1% knowledge.
Okay, right.
So, and content creators wasn't talking. I didn't start learning about that till after COVID, and just really trying to wonder why the stock market was at all-time highs during the epidemic.
Yeah, and when I came in talking about that, I don't know when you started watching my channel, I got a lot of flack back then. It wasn't until peak season when
Did you get flack from me?
I didn't get flack from you because you're smart.
You see what I'm saying?
You're smart. I've talked to you offline. You are one of the smart ones. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying people are stupid, but a lot of people, when it comes to business, is one thing, right? Trucking,
it's such a niche market. You know what I mean? And it's only so much to say about it. So it's easy to make content in the driver's seat of a box truck holding $5,000 and 20s next to a Mercedes and saying you can get rich in trucking. And honestly, that's what 2020 through 2022 was, right? When you had me, honestly, even with my partner at the time, it was a lot of just showing our journey, fucking up, being green, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't mind saying I was that person. You know what I'm saying? I was learning. But what I know now, it's not like I would tell guys to go and do the same thing. But if they've already made that decision, if they've already saved their capital to make that decision, I'm not going to deter them away from it and be, I'm not going to call you a dream killer, but I let them make their own decisions, right? And we talked about a creator accountability. We're going to get into that later in this live stream. But you used to hold the viewer more accountable than the creator back then, where I was like, Mark, it's the opposite. The creators the creators aren't doing what they should be doing. The creators aren't holding themselves accountable, right? And now it's kind of like it's flipped, right? Where the viewer don't have to be as accountable. We need to hold their influence. And I've always been about that. That's why I'm holding myself accountable by putting myself on the show. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think I still hold the viewer accountable. I've scaled back over the course of the past 2 months because, different times of the year, you get different people coming in, and towards that fourth quarter, people were starting to get soft. And I just kind of scaled back. See, because I knew once I scaled back, it was going to increase the demand for it more. Once people miss something, then they realize how valuable it really was, right? So I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I don't have to do it, but people were getting soft. And then there was an issue with the Daniel kid where I just really got it, man. People were giving it to me in the comments, and they were just giving it to me in the live stream. But everything I told the kid was going to happen, it ended up happening. He had to come back and admit to it, and I then started trying to hold those people accountable for trying to hold me accountable for being tough on him for just outside of business, just being older. Like, I'm 20 years older than you. So
Yeah.
like I can incorporate my business experience, plus I've lived a lot longer than some of these
To see
guys that
things.
come up on the channel. Right. So
Yeah.
I'm incorporating my life experience, because even with him, he doesn't really understand what it takes to run a business, right, where there's a lot of uncertainty and still maintain a household on your own when there's no, it's not like going to a job punching the clock. There's still uncertainty there, but every day I'm going, this is my scope of work. Every Friday or every other Friday, I get paid.
Yeah.
With business, it's not like that, and you still have to maintain your household. You see what I'm saying? So when I try to explain, I'm seeing things that a lot of these guys that come up here, especially the younger ones, don't see, because not just the fact that they lack that business acumen, they're just not old enough to even understand what life is going to throw at them later. You know what I'm saying? So I'm
And I'm
trying to
still
get
getting
them.
to that point. You know what I'm saying? I ain't in my prime right now, so I'm just learning as much information as I can. But I know one thing we probably both can agree on is that trucking is cyclical. So right now we're
It's
still on the
definitely.
downtrend, right?
Mhm.
And with who got elected, with tariffs right now, it's pretty shaky. It's scary because we know, if anything, the shippers are probably not gonna be passing the prices just to consumers, but they're probably gonna be trying to save money in logistics too. So
Mhm.
but we can go nowhere but up right now. I know we're dealing with immigration and stuff of that nature, a big minority base in trucking, but I think trucking will have another cycle. We just don't necessarily know when. It could be Q1 26, it could be Q4 25. I don't necessarily know. But that's
What
kind of why I'm still creating content too. I think there will be another cycle.
what would you compare that cycle to?
When was the last good one? Was it
See,
18?
see, that's what I'm saying. When
You know
did
what
you come in
I'm
the truck? When did you come in the truck? That's why I asked you that question. When did you come in? So you telling me?
saying?
So what 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 what
On
what
the
what
other
you
note,
gonna compare it to?
that's a great point. And that's what I'm telling you. I'm still learning myself, right? So I
Okay.
know it's gonna be cycles, and I know the next up is coming. And that was the one you retired off of, right? Yeah, that's
So
the one you
so
sold a
so
lot of assets off of,
right.
right?
So you came in during the pandemic,
The high up, yeah. And
and
I
that
was on the line up.
okay. So you haven't really experienced or let me ask you this: do you know what a normal
Freight
cycle looks
market.
like in truck? Yeah. Do you know what a normal freight market looks like?
I've asked about him. You know what I'm saying? I talk to my boy Sage all the time. He's a freight broker, been in the game 20 years. But as far as living through it, I didn't have that. I didn't. I just had really good and really bad. You know what I mean? But I don't think anybody's seen something like 22. But you also didn't see anything like early 21, late 2020, where rates
Well,
were
well,
inflated up in the world, right? Go
well.
ahead.
There was a freight recession in 2019.
Couldn't have been worse than 22.
It wasn't worse than 22 because you had an event, the pandemic, that caused um 2022. But there was a freight recession in 2019. A lot of trucking companies went out of business in 2019.
I bet you. I would love to see the number of companies that went out in 2019, right, versus quarter one of 2020 when the pandemic first hit, or
It, it's
Q2
it's
after March.
it won't be comparable in as and because of
And
the amount of entrants that came in 2020. 2020 and 2021.
Fair. Yeah, look, 23 is probably ridiculous, horrendous, like a bloodbath. But that's why I know. I mean, yeah, we may only get a steady incline of rates. And I've been studying the load board. I did a video on DAT today, and rates have been in certain areas. I think out of all states, PA, believe it or not, PA and Illinois were the best two states. I have been seeing rates trend up in other places like Ohio, Indiana, where rates are usually higher with usually lower freight but lower demand with trucks not being in that area. I've seen freight rates actually stay pretty steady and kind of trend downwards. So I don't know what's really going on with tender rejections. I got to read something on freight waves tonight to kind of see.
Okay. So you said 2026. You said 2026, right?
Q1.
Q1 what?
2026.
Q1 2026 what?
I think that's the next cycle. I think that's the next. I don't know if it's going to be. And it may be
up. Well, hold on. Upward trajectory?
Upwards for sure.
Q1.
We're steady right now.
Q1 2026.
I think upward trajectory. We got to get past this tariff situation, and we got to see what they're going to do. I think one thing that could inflate the market temporarily could be like the Doge dividends. I haven't been researching too much into that, but it give a lot of the PPP stimulus type money where if you're putting more money injecting into people's hands and inflation starts going up for products, rates start going up because they got more excess capital to give to shippers and receivers, we could see a spike in rates from something like that. But we need an influx of money for people to have to invest.
I'm gonna hold you to that.
Hey, look, I ain't saying it's gonna be perfect.
Got 150 people watching right now. We go.
Look, that's my opinion. Because if not, Mark,
I'm joking. I
know. Because if not, we gotta believe it's just gonna crash and burn forever until automation takes over.
You know what? Can I tell you something?
Illegals.
Can I tell you something?
Go ahead.
I hope the bottom does come out. How you feel about that?
So you hope it stays this way?
I hope it crashes.
Harder.
Yes. I pray.
You think that'll give people an opportunity to reset? Like, so maybe for an investor, for yourself to get back in, or do you think logistics will be dead?
It's going to give me an opportunity to go shopping.
Well, of course you want that.
Listen, I'm gonna go on the shopping.
But I'm pretty sure that the
shopping spree. And guess what? When that cycle does come back, that's when we're gonna offload. When that trend comes back around, that's when I'll offload.
I can't see us dipping lower. You ain't gonna be able to get bread.
I didn't say it was. I said I hope.
No, I know. I understand that. It's kind of like everybody's saying it's gonna be a recession with housing, whereas in 2008 I was in the 5th grade, so of course I didn't get to live through that. Mm-hmm. So it's a possibility on the table, but I think with the crash we've seen in 23, it's plenty enough of those new entrants, not all, but a lot of them that went out of business, along with guys who are tenured in this business who just get tired of that cyclical nature. A lot of the super truck community said screw it, right? We've seen guys been on the road 40 years, 4.5 million miles. They're done, more than ever before at this rate. So somebody has to come in and replace it. If not, what are we going to do about logistics? Is it just going to be automation?
Well, they say
Is the owner operator gone?
For every 6 super truckers that are exiting, so let's say boomers that are exiting this industry, only 2 Generation Z are replacing those seats.
I believe that. So what's your solution for when it crashes? Who's going to replace the seat at this rate?
Well, when I say crash, I'm talking about the economy in general. What I'm going to do has nothing to do with assets or assets, whether paper assets, whatever. It's opportunity. See.
Yeah, I'm a crypto guy.
I look at, and even just that, I look at money as a tool. I understand how things work. The reason why the rich get rich and the rich stay rich is because they buy when the people that follow trends don't.
Yeah.
It's just like Warren Buffett says. when people are greedy, you should be fearful. When people are fearful, you should be greedy.
Well,
Right?
we had a
So
conversation about that, right? Because you
yeah,
feel like the rug being pulled out of the stock market right now, where at inflated rates. You know, he's been pulling money out of the stock market and sold a lot of Apple.
mhm.
But aren't these prices where you want to be buying if it's dipping? You know, I
Right
guess in
now,
my what I'm investing into.
with me, I have long term and I have short term. And long
Okay.
term is stuff that I don't really pay attention to. It's just dollar cost average and
These,
just
yeah.
leave it alone. You see what I'm saying? I don't even care. I don't even look. I don't care. It's just DCA. It's not something that I'm probably going to even be remotely interested in even thinking about another 10, 15, 20 years. You see what I'm
Okay.
saying? And then we have, short term. Right now, it's volatile.
Yeah.
Short term investing right now, there's a lot of uh, volatility. When I'm talking about crash, I'm talking about '08 crash. I'm talking about March of 2020 crash. I'm talking about that week where there's some type of catastrophic event type crash. I'm looking at one of those. I'm waiting for that, and we're
Okay.
due up. We're due up for one. We're
Man,
due up
I
for
don't
one.
think. I think
I'm
Jerome is
not.
going to pray his way out of it, just like we did in
You said you
2020.
said you said he gonna pray his way out of it.
He's going to print his way out of it. He's going to
Oh,
keep
you said
printing
he's gonna
money.
print his way out. Yeah.
He's going to turn the dollar printer
Well,
back on.
I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but I do, because like you said, you were in the fifth grade in '08. And in '08, when it happened, 2010, I got into this industry and I was able to make money. People were losing their homes, and I was able to take advantage of that, moving
Yeah.
people, right? So that helped to catapult me. That unfortunate time period is what helped to catapult me because there was just so many people losing homes. There was just so much moving. So I was able to capitalize on that time period in that aspect. But I
Mhm.
wish I would have been financially sound at that particular time that I could have acquired real estate, because I was real estate here, 2 or 3 flats going for $20, $20,000. You know what I'm saying? But I was in the beginning phases of building a business. So yes, I'm
Yeah.
looking for that type of time period. Not necessarily for the housing market, but just when the economy crashes and just all assets are on sale.
I think what we're gonna see is a way where I think we're gonna enter a inflation stage. We're already there. I think they're just gonna print to where their debts are lower. They're gonna print so much money to where they can pay off their past debts due to the rate of inflation being so high. Like, what's gonna be what's our national debt? Is it like 50 trillion or something crazy?
Something like that, yeah.
Let's say they just print 100 trillion within 10 years. That 50 trillion is now less, and our dollar is going to be worth less, and our real estate, our asset, our crypto, all of that's going to be worth more due to the dollar being less. But I think they're going to go to hyperinflation route. I don't think they're going to let another crash happen. That's just my opinion.
You
I
don't think
mean,
so?
it'll be way worse. I think it'll be way worse than '08 because we're in way more debt. The entire
That'd be
country.
that'd be great. You don't like so
It'll
you
be
don't
great
like
for you.
you don't
It'll be
like that,
great
do
for
you?
you with a big wad of cash ready to buy, but
I,
I bet I can say I'm not picking on the chat when I say this. Let's say 80% of the chat would be in a horrible position, right? Unless they had
uh,
tons of money in the sideline.
no, it's a bunch of people. Well, some my members,
Okay,
so I have some
that's my
members that
bad.
just
I talked to a lot of new entrants with low capital, so that's on me.
this is,
I'm
but we living in a capitalistic society. But this is what people need to know. This is the information that people need to know so that they can get their mindset right. So if they miss, let's say a crash happens next week, and let's say another crash happens in another 8 years, they'll be ready. They'll have that mindset, right? So
sure.
this is the mindset that, and see, this is where I guess people get upset, but this is reality. People want to be rich, right? You got a lot of people that thinking they're gonna get a box truck with $5,000 and they're gonna make a gazillion dollars. No, you're not. This is the way
Yeah.
you're gonna do it. You're gonna put yourself in a position where you start from humble beginnings, you work your way up, You stash money, you invest into other things, you create multiple streams of revenue so that when these opportunities do present themselves, because you've gone about things the right way, you're in a good financial position where you have cash on hand and you can take advantage of these things. You're able to buy assets at a low cost. So then when the next trend happens, when everybody's making money, then everybody's, oh, get a box truck because everybody's got money. You're smart enough to see the bottom, right? It's going to crash. Now you're selling off your assets way higher. And then the cycle repeats itself.
That's a good point. I guess I just been living in, I guess fairy tale land and thinking they're just going to keep resulting to printing money to keep a crash from happening. Because when we crash, they crash too, right? And we do want to see the corporations give off some of their assets to us, but we got to be in a position first to have capital, and right now, at least from a trucking standpoint, it's hard to build up that capital stockpile that you're talking about to be able to invest, because the rates, not only is inflation volatile, but the rates are volatile. Like I said, I've been kind of looking at the rates and they're not really stable anywhere. I think that's where I can say with the rental too, you can say I was kind of somewhat wrong on it, because you probably shouldn't get a rental, especially at scale, if you don't know what your cost of operations are going to be at a steady pace. Because the rental is going to be steady. I was talking about this in my live last night. The rental going to hit you for the same amount, depending on how many miles you run and what your weekly rate is. But you can't go on a load board and maybe with Final Mile, you can dictate your price a little bit more. But on a load board, you can't just say, hey, I'm going to get X amount because I need to run at this rate to be profitable. The freight broker really don't care. So that's a good point.
Well, that was a good debate. Let's jump into the next topic. You ready to jump into the next topic?